Great.
Poggers, poggers.
Cool.
Okay. Fucking Kazuya, I'm sorry, dude, but I can hear myself in every word I say, and I hate the sound of my voice. It's making me cringe really hard. Okay, sorry, King.
You fucking made him mute himself.
Because
Holy
I'm gonna be.
shit.
I'm not trying to be mean. Yeah, I just
Alright,
hate
hurry up,
my
teacher.
voice. All right. Okay, I'm changing my name to Professor Ramen. 1 second.
I didn't call you professor, I called you teacher.
You call
You
me.
gave yourself a big upgrade there. Alright, dude. This guy fucking really. Okay, dude.
Okay, I'm literally plagiarizing content. I'm not actually teaching anything.
I know, I see it. It says not your name.
Yes, yes. So I went through all this. We don't need to watch this. We don't need to watch this. But basically, where do we go? So brawl, right? The I mean, it's on the fucking slide. I'm just gonna read it for the sake of it. I hope it's not annoying. But basically, the idea is that we always want to be taking fights where we are forcing them to either rotate into us or forcing them to play on a point because brawl comps have great sustain and right strong defensive abilities, but in one direction. Um, so basically, we want to have them all funneled into like either a choke or funneled into we have hard cover on our left and right. We don't need to worry about our flank. They're all coming at one direction, and then we can use our Rhine Shield, we can use our Diva DM, we can use our Maywall, and all those abilities are really strong at mitigating damage, but only from one angle. The weakness is map control, vertical movement, and resource based. So the idea here is that the longer the fight goes on, the weaker our comp gets because we start to run out of things like shield or DM or ice block or wall, etc. We run out of resources. Vertical movement, obviously, things on high ground are really difficult to contest. The only exception to that really being like Diva and Lucio. And we'll see that later. But basically, when the enemy team runs a Pharah, the way that we play has to change. It basically becomes Kazuya's job is to contest the Pharah. PSI's job is to pump all of his healing into Kazuya, and the rest of our jobs is to contest point when needed, but basically avoid taking much poke or damage at all, so that PSI and Kazuya can do their respective jobs because most of us will be useless against Pharah.
On attack,
Um,
defense, or both.
so the example video that this guy has in his PowerPoint is going to be Oasis, not city center, not university, I guess library, the high ground in the middle. So like basically both. Realistically, what it'll be is it'll be a defensive thing because if we roll out and the defensive team has a Pharah, we can just switch up Moose to Widowmaker. We can change our comp to address that. But if we're running Brawl on defense, we don't have the luxury of swapping, at least on a first point, like a hybrid map or a 2CP. So with our Brawl comp, assuming we're running that Brawl comp and we're locked into it for at least the first fight, if they run spam like a Pharah, then we just adjust our strategy and we understand that Kazuya is basically going to be the primary way to contest that Pharah because he's playing Diva. And then you would switch your mentality from I need to pocket Hoot to I need to pocket Kazuya. And then Hoot's going to be playing much slower, much more like hard cover, holding shield a lot, and just trying to contest point whenever needed. And then like me and Moose, for example, have to not feed. We can't take flanks. We have to just like play safe. We usually have Moose on Kree, so that'll help a lot. In the video that this guy includes, they have like Reaper and May as their DPS, so it was even more difficult. Um, so Moose would be able to help because he contest the Pharah in this example. But anyway, yeah. So there's some terminology here uses here like mid fights. I didn't know what this meant at first, but if you go to the glossary on slide 144, basically he just defines a mid fight as 143 maybe. What the fuck? Where do you define mid fight? Oh, here. A state of a fight where both teams are committed to contesting the same space of the map. So like it doesn't necessarily mean like on a time scale. It doesn't actually mean how long the fight's been going on. That's what I thought it meant at first. It doesn't. It basically just means when both teams are committed. And my understanding of that is when both main tanks are in a position that they can't really disengage. So like if enemy Winston uses his leap to jump onto point and Hoot's already on point or Reinhardt's on point, I would understand that to be like, okay, we've entered the mid fight now. Their monkey's in, he can't really get out, and our Reinhardt's on point, she can't really get out. Um, Obviously, this is all like open to different interpretations and debate, and that's like one thing this guy stresses is that like it's not a hard science; it's all pretty subjective. So like none of this should be taken as a dogma, and like if anyone disagrees with anything, just like say so at any time, because this is literally just fucking me reading off this PowerPoint. But anyway, So forcing the mid fight, forcing them to basically contest a point, forcing them to come to us or rotating to them. And then this is the part where basically fortify a position with the least number of angles so that we can use our defensive abilities. When they say rotating to them, I think about Ilios well, and I think we tried to apply this concept, but ultimately it failed. That could have been because our rotation wasn't clean enough. It could have been because we should have been rotating through the wheelhouse instead of all the way left. It could have been a couple different things, but we have actually, like, intuitively, I think we all understand this, and we've tried to do this when playing into spam comps, just with varying degrees of success, right? So this is just like a introduction to Brawl, introduction to Dive. Like, we don't really need to get too far into this because we're not gonna be playing much Dive, realistically. But the idea with Dive is that it's all about the like scouting and staging phase, and they have like a power spike where they engage and they basically either win the fight or lose the fight based on their engagement. And then like high level introduction to spam is just like spam wants to fight at range at all times and basically just play for picks. Like you have Hanzo and Widow, or you have like Hanzo Junkrat, or whatever the case may be. The longer spam comps stay alive, the stronger they get. So this is like, I think this is a good visual, just like summarize it, right? Like the yellow is dive, that's their power spike. So this is like scouting, positioning, staging. Okay, everyone hits left shift, everyone engages a target. That's their power spike. This is where they win the fight. And then if they don't win the fight here, dive usually loses, right? This is spam. They just remain constant. They want to fight from a long distance. They never really run out of resources. They're just constantly cycling cooldowns and outputting ridiculous damage. And then this is brawl. Like we're strongest at the start of the fight, and then we just degrade over time as our resources deplete. So, um, yeah, we can just do that's the interaction. Okay, this stuff I thought was pretty cool. We don't need to get too far into it. It's still like just not comp specific, but this was like the fight phase. So some of these things you have to actually go into presenter mode because they stack. But this is basically how this guy views fights. And I wasn't 100% sure how to interpret this. You'll see in a second. So you guys let me know what you think. But basically, so start, I guess, engage. If the engage fails, you do a hard reset. If the engage sort of fails, you do a soft reset. Posturing, I guess, is really just getting into position to engage, and then right, you either win or you reset. And then poke and positioning really is only applicable apparently to spam. So when you hit the arrows, right? So what this guy does is he basically, I don't know what to make of this. My interpretation is that brawl comps want to avoid the posturing phase in general, right? They want to skip right past that, and they just want to like get to the engage, kill, win phase. They just want to skip all this shit. Um, I guess spam posturing, I guess, is poke and positioning, and then dive. Like I don't really know what to make of this fucking slide, to be quite honest. My
It looks
takeaway,
like where they're all strong at. So the spam comp's really strong during the poke phase. So as a brawl or a dive team, we would want to avoid poking altogether against a spam team because that's where their strengths lie. So like if we force the fight to be when we're actually engaging them and not when we're poking, we have a bigger advantage than if we poked.
yeah, you're completely right. Yeah, that's exactly how he meant it to be interpreted. Okay, yeah, thank you.
Robin's like, I don't know how to make sense of this very easy to read
Oh,
diagram.
that's I'm not fucking claiming to know everything. That's
Alright,
what,
okay.
you guys are helping me. It's like, yeah, no, I think you're on the money. Okay, so basically the idea is we want to get here. This is where our comp is strong in the
Right.
engagement.
And with dive, it's all about the scouting. And like as soon as they realize that, oh, that Zen's out there alone, that's where they're strong. You hit shift or whatever and go.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Okay, awesome. And that's something he brings up too. Is with dive, that opportunity is like our brawl comp will get fucked in rotations against dive. Like we have to have really clean rotations and we have to play clumped up. But yeah, exactly. Okay. Fight structure, again, just going through it quick. You win a fight, clean up, I guess, is killing. Alt tracking, we're going to get to this as part of the comp structure. That's something we already do a decent job of, but right now we all do it. It might be cleaner if we just have herbs and PSI strictly do it. That's like an open discussion thing, but there's a lot of comp structure stuff that we can talk about. I posted some screenshots in this, like from this PowerPoint, but so alt tracking and then planning how you want to use your alts. What alt do you want to use? Where do you want to use it? When do you want to use it? This guy's a big advocate of having the owner of the alt determine when and how they want to use it. So in the past, we've been like, we'll like alt, and I'm guilty of this probably the most. is like trying to macro how the ults get used. But this guy basically says the player who has the ult knows how to use their ult best. So we can kind of have it be like if we have Deadeye or we have May ult or we have Shatter, the owner of that ult can kind of initiate that, like, I want to use my ult. This is how I want to use it. This is when I want to use it. This is where I want to use it. That's like one approach we could take. We don't need to do that if we don't want to, but just an idea. And then the setup, scouting, whatever, execution, win, snowball, just like blah blah blah. Awesome. Okay.
Yeah.
This video I watched, I don't really think it's super important. Oh, yeah, we could do attendance. I forgot I did this. I got like a people nerd take attendance, since it's a class.
Excuse me?
Just sign in with people nerd, dude. Sign in.
What? No.
Okay. So
Fucking thing sucks.
okay, shut up. Thank you. So this is like the comp plan in general. So I think that ult tracker is usually support. Shot caller so far has mostly been like me from what I've noticed. Target caller should always be Hoot. I don't know. I think we do a decent job at this, but if we do a bad job, we need to fix it. It's basically like if we have a Reinhardt, whatever our Reinhardt's swinging at needs to be the target that all of us collapse on, especially with the kinds of comps we run. So that's a good point, Ben. I should rename it to People Hoot.
What?
I won't do it. But yeah, so basically like this stuff, the gray shit doesn't require calming, but like the general plan is what like the shot caller will do. The where, the when, the scouting, the pre-fight scouting, the mid-fight scouting, everyone does, and the target calling is what our main tank will do. But one thing that I've noticed that I think works really well on our team is we all are kind of shot callers in a way. We all like suggest plans and suggest rotations and ideas, and I think that's really good. I just think that the important thing is that there's only one shot caller at a given time. And we haven't had issues with this in the past, so I don't think it's a problem at all. But I think the general idea is if we're rolling into a fight and Herbs has a very clear idea of like the rotation we should make and what we need to do, and he says that, then in that moment he's our shot caller and we listen to what he says. And if we're going into a fight and Hoot's saying something like telling us how to focus their Ryan Shield or how she wants to approach a fight, in that moment she's a shot caller and we listen to our shot caller. So just the idea is that, like, it's a hat anyone can wear, but it's a hat that only one person can wear at once. Just to avoid like confusion and shit. And again, I don't think for shot calling that's been much of a problem. I think for target calling it has been a problem. And I think for the most part, we can all suggest targets in the early fight, but once we're in a brawl, I think realistically what we do is we have Hoot call whatever she's swinging on, which you already do for the most part, and then we all echo that call and make sure we're shooting the same thing. So we're basically playing our comp like goats. Like once we pull off the rotation and once we pull off the cycling of resources to actually like begin the engagement, then comms really would just become the target that we are currently killing. And obviously like the target selection can be based on a couple different things, but ultimately it's going to be like, what can our Reinhardt actually hit in range? If there's a D.Va on the high ground, like maybe we send Kazuya up to contest her, but for the most part, that's not going to be the target we all focus because our Ryan can't focus it, and we basically want to be collapsing on the same target. Okay. Ult tracking, this is just like support shit, right? Support's usually ult track. I think we already do a really good job of that. Shot caller, again, doesn't really matter. We all kind of shot call. I did a lot of shot calling on Night Ops and Mercury Cougars and my old team, so like I'm pretty comfortable doing it. But I think we all have done it in scrims and games, and so it's like I think the system we have right now is working really well, and I don't want to change that. Target calling, yeah, this is the part where I think we need to all kind of come in alignment, because I'm definitely guilty of it. I think everyone is that if Hoot is calling a target that she's on, not like a target to engage, but in the actual fight, a target that she's on, we all have to collapse on that target and like funnel all of our damage into it, because like that's just how our comp works. Okay. Lastly, ult usage, right? Player with the impactful ult. So like when Kazuya wants to throw his bomb at enemy spawn, probably would have said like, oh no, that's a terrible idea, but like almost every time it gets value. So okay, he knows his ult best. We let him use his ult. Same thing with Blizzard, same thing with Deadeye, same thing with Shatter. Same thing with like Beat. Like basically anyone who owns their ult should get to like use their ult however they want, as long as they're using their like brains and they're not like fucking trolling. Like they're actually thinking like, okay, how do I use my ult? What's the correct way to use it? What am I tracking? What am I looking for? So like it's kind of just like trusting each other to like know that we're looking for shit, like that we're gonna use our ult in a good way. And then basically I think the idea here is that like learning how to use your ult is something you do outside of the game. In like VOD reviews, we don't really have a coach. Ben's like an absentee father, but for the most part,
True.
for the most part, wait,
Yeah?
I'm about to cry. I'm about to cry. I'm about to cry.
What happened?
Wait, yeah, wait.
What are you doing, you freak? Holy shit, you actually got this guy in.
Yes, dude. Oh my god.
What's
I'm
wrong
so
with you?
happy,
Why
I'm
are you
so
so
happy,
obsessed with
I'm so-
Lua?
I
You
don't
need
know.
help?
He's the best. He's the best. He's the best. He's the best. Okay. I can't have my name be Professor Ramen. Now I look like an idiot. Jesus
You are,
Christ.
he knows you're an idiot. I promise. I promise. He knows. You gave
Okay.
him OG roll. Can you stop wetting your fucking pants and get on with the
Dude,
PowerPoint?
okay, yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. I'm
Jesus.
sorry. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Um. So okay. Scouting. This is something I think we should do a lot more. I don't think we do it enough. But when he says main support, he means Lucio. And when he says off tank, obviously he means Diva. But this is like something we definitely need. Like, this is something we should be doing, kind of almost like part of the structure of the fight, right? Like we know we're going to be scouting, and our scouts are going to be relaying information to us, right? So we just like something to start doing. Mid fight, everyone does it, and the idea is just like, oh, they used personal bubble, and Zarya's overextended. Push the Zarya, push the Zarya, push the Zarya, that kind of shit. Right? Okay. Now this is the actual important part. Sorry. Okay, intro spam interaction. Okay, we did all that. Okay. This is the important part. So, brawl. We already went over this slide, right? But the idea is just fortify a position with the least number of angles. I think this is something. Okay, like I'm like, literally thinking all the time of King's Row, Junkrat. Like when they pushed into us, right? What did we do? We held kind of on point, kind of behind the hotel, right? And so if we're applying this theory, that was a bad position to hold because they have an angle of the hotel, they have an angle from like all of the points, so they can spam from left of statue, right of statue, from hotel, right? They could even get on the high ground. They can literally surround us and spam on us. So like, what would have been a better position to hold into their spam when they had Junkrat on King's Row? I think we should have held near the statue and basically forced them to go through choke and make it so that all their spam is coming through one direction, right? Um, so that's kind of like the ultimate goal of this is just to like try and apply this shit to what we can do differently and like how we want to play differently. But anyway, so this is what I was saying, right? We need to be one unit at all times. So I'm super guilty of this, of like going in earlier than Hoot. And like that happened in our scrim yesterday. We lost the scrim, Kings Row, because their baby diva was out of mech, and I had it in my mind that I wanted to rush in Blizzard. But rather than like communicate that and wait for the main tank to set tempo, I overextended and we died because of it, right? So like that's the kind of shit that we all need to become more disciplined with. Is like we're one unit and our unit is basically going to be playing at the tempo of our Reinhardt, and we have to like respect that. So that's like the main thing with Brawl is like when we go in, we're going in, and when we turn, everyone turns. The one thing I'll say is like when we say everyone turns, what that actually means is 5 people turn, and our Reinhardt holds shield, so you never turn. It just means you stop moving forward, you stop swinging, you stop taking damage, you just hold your shield. Everyone else turns, and you can back up with us, but you don't actually ever turn around, because then we get turbo fucked. And then right, these calls I think we can use, so like in, turn, stabilize, and stack. I want you to use this call a lot more actually. Who is like stack on your Reinhardt, stack on your Reinhardt. That was really good in goats, and I think it would be really good for the comp we run. And it basically just means like everyone fucking group up on Hoot. It's really useful if she's getting bullied by like a Mei and a Reinhardt, or just even a Mei Kree, Mei Reaper, whatever. If they're trying to like int on her, and she calls stack on your Rein, having like a McCree, having a Mei, having a Diva physically with her makes her job a lot easier, and also like guarantees her a lot of safety, right? So that's the idea. Um, this part, this was really cool. Okay, ultimates, enabler, and finisher. This was so fucking cool. So a couple weeks ago on my old team that I left, we got in a big fucking argument because we used to use Grav Blizzard as a combo, and I like Grav Blizzard a lot if you need to win a fight. So the context was Volskaya defense 2 CP. The enemy team had a Zarya Hanzo. We had a Zarya Mei. We knew that our Zarya Mei had Grav Blizzard. We knew that their Zarya Hanzo had Grav Dragon. So our hit scan DPS said only use Grav, don't use anything else. I said no, that's stupid. Use Grav Blizzard. So you already know my bias here of like which one I think was right. But basically, my thought process was if we use Grav, they can counter Grav and then Dragon, and then they win the fight. And it doesn't matter that we have a fucking better ult economy because we lose. It's 2 CP, and they're going to snowball to point. If we use Grav Blizzard, that the Grav grabs them all together, the Blizzard negates their ability to use their own ults, and even if they do fire off their ults, it negates their ability to follow up, right? So like intuitively that made sense, but then when I was actually reading through this slide, this guy actually quantifies that, and he like puts labels on them. So in that context, the Grav is the enabler and the Blizzard is the finisher. And I thought this video was super fucking cool. So it's the Dallas Fuel versus Shock, right? And the Fuel is obviously blue, the Shock is white, the Shock is pushing the payload. Can you guys see this? Does it show up in the screen?
Yeah.
Okay. So okay. I'll just let it play out.
That one seemed more like a distraction as opposed to like using the two ults in a.
So this is my takeaway on it, right? Is I think the High Noon's the enabler, the Blizzard's the finisher, and the reason for it is the High Noon does two things, right? It forces white team to clump around payload because they know their Rein Shield's gonna break. Like Rein Shield is only buying you time for a High Noon; it never buys you actual survival. So the High Noon forces them into a clumped up group, number one, and number two, almost more importantly, is it forces their diva to fly to the bridge. By the diva flying to the bridge, they no longer have anything to do with the male, right? So it literally functioned as the same concept as a Grav Dragon or a Grav Blizzard is. The High Noon was never going to win them the fight. It never was the intention. The intention was only to drag the diva away from the rest of their team and guarantee their team is clumped up. And now the Mei has an easy Blizzard. It's the easiest Blizzard in the world, and she can use her fucking wall or whatever, block off their team. They can't get out, right? So that's the enabler. That's the finisher, right? And the reason I like this example so much is I had never thought of using two DPS ults to complement each other like that. But in this context, like I don't know, I thought it was really cool. It was really big brain. The entire plan was, hey, we need to get their diva away from them so she can't eat the Blizzard. And as an added bonus, we're gonna have them all fucking grouped up on the payload so that it's a fat Blizzard no matter what, right? And then yeah, they win the fight. Okay. I remember seeing this example. I don't remember if it was as clear. Enabler plus finisher ult. So yeah, so like presumably this guy's saying this is going to be the same concept. So let's try and figure it out. So they have okay. I guess white team Reaper is flanking. Yeah, right. What this is another thing too. Is apparently flanking is really important in this comp, and I did not know that, but that's something. If Moose was here, it would be better because he's the DPS that would be flanking. But apparently flanking is a big thing that we haven't been doing and we should be doing. But anyway, so the Reaper's flanking. He uses Death Blossom. That forces their Matrix, and It seems like everyone's just clicking Q, so I actually don't know that I get it. So, okay.
The only thing that I can guess out of that is it makes the D.Va turn around for the flanker, and again they get the Blizzard off because she's facing the wrong way.
I think that's it too. But the thing is, okay, so he uses Death Blossom. Gladiators use Death Blossom, and then Gladiators also use Beat, which I guess forces Slime to beat. That's a thing that you always see in Overwatch League, is when one team beats, the other Lucio has to beat as well to match it, right? Otherwise, you just get run over. Let's see if anything crazy happens. The Titans win, though. See, in that context, it almost looked like the Earth Shatter is what set up. Did he Earth Shatter the D.Va? What did Fissure shatter? I don't really know. I'm not. I remember watching this example and not really getting
I
it.
was looking at what stunned Cloudy. Run it back a little bit further.
Was that?
The Earth Shatter. The Earth Shatter.
Yeah.
Was it?
Yeah.
Yeah. So the Rhine shatters the Reaper and the Reinhardt, and like the reason I don't get why that's an example of an enabler finisher is that I would have expected him to shatter the D.Va. It looks like the.
Is it just the shatter for the stun and then Blizzard to keep him down, or what?
No. I don't think so, because Reinhardt has nothing in his kit to prevent a Blizzard. It doesn't matter if he's got full shield. The only thing that kind of matters is does he have pin, but like that barely matters because you just hold M1 on him. It doesn't really make a difference. The Reaper Wraith, like sort of maybe. I don't get this example. I'll be totally frank with you.
Well, I'm glad we spent so much time on
it. Well, okay.
We can take the ideas from it.
I think the first one is like, this is the one that I'm confident I understand the lesson he's trying to teach, right? Like,
100%.
This one I get. The top one, yeah, is like super cool, I think. And yeah,
I think with that one, it's just plain and simple. They shattered Blizzard.
That's
like
it, you
they
think?
Stun people. Now they're in the Blizzard. I think it's just as simple.
Yeah, I think you're overthinking it.
Yeah.
Okay. I can accept that. And now we get into the actual matchups, right? So up until now is just like the high level concept of Brawl, and now it's the actual matchups. I haven't watched this video, full disclosure. I don't necessarily. Oh yes, I did. Okay. This one's all about the rotation. This one's super cool. I think we come back to it in a second. Let's read a couple slides and then come back to this video. I think it would be better. Okay, so when we're playing Brawl, and this is kind of like the key that I want here, right? Like what I want us to do is we're hitting tab, and the first thing I want us to do is categorize what their team comp is. Like, we know we're on Brawl. The first thing I want us to do, like within 15 seconds of the game, we should absolutely have articulated and visually actually said they are running this comp, right? Like, whether it's Brawl Dive or Spam, we're going to say, yeah, this is the comp they're running. And then in our minds, all of us know, we don't have to say anything. We know what that means we're doing, right? Because we're going to basically learn and memorize how we play into each of these comps. So for when they're running Dive and we're running Brawl, we need to physically play close, physically play grouped up, because Dive's objective is to pick an isolated target with limited mobility and fucking run them over, right? That's the idea. And so, right, we play grouped up and we survive what I guess he refers to as their power spike, which is just their dive. The moment they hit shift, the moment they engage. Once we do that, in theory, we win. That's the idea. We in theory, we win once we do that. Also, this concept is something that applies a lot in Spam 2, is playing in positions where all of the damage is coming from like one direction, right? That's really it. Like, we don't isolate and we don't fight out in the open. We take narrow paths, and then forcing the mid fight, which again is just like contesting the objective or rotating on the backline, basically forcing an engagement. And now that we have read this, we can watch this really quick. And the idea here is just like watch how their team positions and the path they take and what they try to accomplish. Right? So they're all playing super clumped up. They don't go mid, they don't go left. They go right, where things are really tight and narrow, right? And Dive can't fight them because Dive will get fucked if they try and contest any of this. They're still tight. They force them off high ground a bit, I guess. And from here, they're just playing really clumped up. Almost like stacking on each other. They clear out the high ground. I think that's something also we should do more, right? Because I know for a fact if I was calling this rotation, I might have thought to go right. I probably would have thought of that, but I would have also said go straight to point, which is me being shitty, right? That's me being a bad player. What they did is they didn't go straight to point. Dogs should play actually, right? They didn't go straight to point. They actually forced them off high ground. And now that I didn't even notice it the first time. I didn't notice the significance of it. I would have. Can you guys see my mouse, by the way, my cursor?
Yes.
Okay. I would have 100% kept going down these stairs onto point. We would have probably lost because they would have surrounded us from 6 angles. Instead, what they do is they like actually fucking force them off. I think that's really cool. That's really important. They completely force them off. And then from here, once they know, okay, this high ground's relatively secure, they force a mid fight by putting their Orisa on point. The rest of them don't necessarily play point, but they're like ready to fucking play point when they need to. They're kind of like over here in this corner. Now they're all on point. Yeah, this is actually really cool. So yeah, once they're on point, it's like kind of GG, right? They bunker up, they rotated it cleanly, and now Dive can't do much. Another big thing, super important, is I don't want to go back and watch the whole fucking minute again, but notice how the dive doesn't start until now, right? So now they nanoed their monkey. Their monkey actually uses leap to engage, and now it's like they're fucking in there, right? And they immediately have immortality, and Mei has ice block. So that's another thing he stresses is the importance of saving your cooldowns, and not using them basically for not even not using them for no reason, but like really not using them until you need to. Then there's the wall. So like they save their shit. They're really like stingy with their cooldowns. Right? So play grouped up, survive the power spike. He mistyped. He meant to write save. Save abilities for this moment. Mei wall, shields, defense matrix, immortality, whatever. That's what we just saw in the video. And then basically force a fight on point, force them to contest because they get burned contesting. Okay, defending versus dive. This is cool, I think, because it's
Are
like,
you on the PowerPoint? Because I still see the video.
oh really?
I don't know if it's just me.
This is me as well.
Oh, okay, now it's PowerPoint.
Jesus
Oh,
Christ.
there's some lag. I'm sorry, sir. I'm sorry.
Pathetic.
It's really tough to be up here with my fucking. I've got the peanut gallery roasting me. Herbs and Hoot.
A 0 on your evaluation.
Oh.
Oh my good. Okay, listen to me. Okay, so we forced a fight on point. That's good. And okay, playing dive. Playing against dive when we're on defense. They can always touch the point. They have a higher mobility, right? If they force a rotation, they probably win. We don't ever want to get split up. Each rotation is an opportunity for dive to fuck someone. So what do? We stay close to point. Less rotations, the better. So going back to King's Row, because I just think it's the example that sticks in my mind. They run out with the Junkrat. Okay, we know that we want to hold them kind of close to the choke. We want all their damage to be coming from one direction. If they run out on dive, we probably want to play closer to hotel so that no rotations are necessary, so that there's no chance for them to catch out PSI or catch out McCree or anything like that. Basically, the more we move, the more chance they get to kill us, unless our rotations are really, really clean, which is ideal, but probably not always likely. And the main thing is that the main tank is the one touching the point. So this looks like something we can watch. There's some things, whenever you see stuff stacked, you can hit present, and there's actually shit here. Okay. So right here, they're holding in the center. They're surrounded. They're probably turbo fucked. 10 meters to point. Don't hold the choke versus dive. Okay, I got it right. So we wouldn't hold the fucking choke. We would play near the point. Also turbo fucked. A lot of angles. 10 meters, 4 angles, far from point. Another thing this guy does that I think is super cool is he talks about like the geometry of Overwatch. Support players probably already know this. PSI is probably very familiar with the frustration of like someone going past the corner and he can't heal them anymore. But this guy literally shows how moving 1 meter past the corner, whether you're playing Widowmaker in a sniper duel or you're playing like Ana to heal your teammates, but moving 1 meter past the corner forces the other person to move 10 meters to get line of sight on them again. And that's like later in the PowerPoint. Super cool though. Anyway, looks like the correct rotation is here, right? Limited sights. They really only have 2, this and this. And then once point unlocks, our Reinhardt can just kind of fucking chat up, tank in there. And this goes back, I think, to the concept of like lanes, like understanding maps as being left, right, mid. Is we kind of like can start looking at these patterns and figuring out prior to the map, like if they run spam, what lane do we want to fight in? If they run dive, what lane do we want to fight in? And I think like breaking this shit down to like almost like a scientific method, we can make these decisions because we're basically making the decision beforehand, right? We're basically saying, hey, on this map, if they run dive, we know what to do. And then it takes the thought out of it, right? It's like all we need to do is determine what comp they're running. And if we categorize their comp as dive, then we know, okay, this is where we're going to position. This is when we want to touch point. This is where we want to touch point from, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Okay? So I'm going to exit this. Oh, okay. I'm actually going to present this again because there's more stuff. You guys can see when it presents, right? Like when it goes into the full screen view, it still shows up, or does it just show my?
Yeah, it's good.
No, it's
Okay.
showing it, yeah.
Okay. Because my fucking the actual client on my end only shows one static image, so I don't actually know what you guys are seeing. Okay, attacking versus dive, force mid fight, survive power spike. We've been seeing that a lot, right? He even fucking says it twice. Force mid fight, contest objective. Tanks need to contest, probably mostly Hoot. I'm reading the fucking gibberish that's going on in chit chat. Sorry. Tanks need to peel,
Not
mostly
focusing on
Diva.
class, huh?
I am focusing on the class. Survive power spike, use abilities versus engagement, clean rotations, least amount of abilities used, least amount of angles from dive. Okay, same concept, right? So like, let's see what examples I'm thinking like in my head, Anubis, attacking dive on Anubis. Let's see what examples. Okay. I'm not thinking that. I'm thinking it because he already put that here. It's not an original thought. Many angles, lots of dive opportunities. Okay, you don't go mid. I think you go left, but maybe you go right. Let's find out. Also many angles. Oh, I'm genius. You do go left. Not good, right? Oh, wait, less angles. Maybe it is good. I don't know. Always go left or right. They're both good. They both
You're a
work.
fucking disaster.
They both work. They both work. They both work. You think it would be weird to throw a Dilly in there? I think it would be.
Yes. Tilly's not around anymore. Didn't he
Oh,
take it out?
really? I added it back in. No, it's back in homies.
Oh, okay. Can you stop flirting with Lua and get back to class?
Ben's
think you
out
need to
flirting me.
wrap it
Ben is
up,
out flirting
homie.
me. I'm sorry. Dude, we're on like slide 50 of like 150, so. I'm kidding. Sort of. Okay. So clean rotations, least amount of angles, go left or right, never go mid. Okay, got it, right? Easy. Summary. We can just read the whole summary. Stay grouped up. Save abilities for when they engage. He says safe twice. Maybe it's not a typo. Maybe safe abilities is like specifically like Wraith, Ice Block, Wall, Immortality. That makes sense actually. So I guess Fade. Okay, Nade. Okay, that makes sense. Okay. Save abilities, the important abilities for engagement, force the mid fight, defend close to point with the least possible angles, attack from left or right. Okay, awesome. That's dive. Brawl v Brawl, right?
It's just a summary screen for us.
And that's
Yeah.
It just says summary.
This says 2.2 summary.
What about now?
Nope.
It's the same thing.
Same screen.
It's like trying to help your fucking teacher with the smart board.
Dude, I see something totally different. Okay,
It's
one
still in
second.
presenter mode for us.
It's just lagging. Okay, 1 second.
No, wait, class is over.
Class isn't over. Class isn't over.
Fuck.
There, we're good.
I've already put my books away.
Fucking
Yeah.
take your books out. Take your books out.
What the fuck?
Okay. I'm gonna change my name. Oh, Flu is gonna think I'm stupid. Christ.
Shut up.
um. Okay, you guys can see it now. So survive the power spike. Stay grouped. Save abilities from engagement. Force the mid fight. Defend with the least amount of chokes, or defend the point with the least possible angles, and attack from left to right. Okay, brawl. Okay. Mirror matchup, right? The weaknesses and strength of brawl are less impactful. The main thing is for the mirror matchup, we always want to hold chokes, right? And on defense, at least, when we hold the choke, the big thing is that we want to hold multiple lines of pressure, like multiple lines of damage. On offense, we want to like basically blast through the choke using an ability or something. So like I think probably using like if we don't have ults like Maywall, Amp Speed, whatever the case may be, like we need to get through choke with something. But the idea is when they push into us, they're getting hit from multiple angles. When we're pushing into them, we're only firing damage into one direction. So how to push through a choke? Mobility, right? Not possible, I guess, in our comp. And more firepower, which is like either flanks or using our ultimates. Which this video is literally just gonna be that. They like fucking Kazuya bomb through choke. So like the Titans lost, but I guess the idea is like they needed to get through the choke and they fucking threw their bomb in to get through the choke, right? Map control is determined by flanks. The Brawl doesn't have map control because Brawl doesn't play spread out. It plays like very clustered together. And so I guess the idea with flanks here, and they have Reaper. I don't think Kree necessarily can flank the same way. This is very much like for Reaper May comps, and we might want to start doing that, by the way. We might want to start playing with Reaper May comps and then like have Moose swap to the Kree. It's something maybe worth exploring. But the idea is that both teams should be looking to flank. Both teams should have like a peel squad. I mean, he says it right here, peel squad, right? And that's peel squad is D.Va Lucio. So like our Ana gets pushed by Reaper. Like Reaper TP's behind. Obviously, it's PSI's responsibility to like be listening for that and then say, you know, peel your Ana, Reaper on your Ana, whatever the call may be. And then intrinsically, me and Hoot know that's not our job. That's not our problem, right? Our job is to maintain the front line as Reinhardt May. Intrinsically, we should know that is going to be Herbs and Kazuya on Lucio and D.Va, who will immediately respond to PSI's call for help and go to pressure out the Reaper. Hypothetically, Moose could be playing in any of the three positions, but he could be with me and Hoot, he could be with Kazuya and Moose, or Kazuya and Herbs, or he could be trying to initiate his own flank, right? But there's a screenshot. So, right, that's the peel squad. The idea with flanking is like how to flank is basically the Reaper TPs into backline, and then we kind of like pincer them. We push at the same time, and the Reaper has to have his like abilities to escape. So he needs his Wraith, right? So Reaper gets into backline. Now we have two angles on their team. We would push their front line at the same time that Moose engages their Ana, and now their intention is completely split. They can either turn to help their Ana and get fucked up by our front line, or they can focus on our front line and Moose probably just kills their Ana and they lose the fight. So it's like really effective. And the key here is that Moose can't die. He has to be able to fade out and get back to team if his flank doesn't work.
I'm still on the presenter thing.
Wait, really?
Yeah, I'm just looking at
I'm
video.
I'm seeing the video paused.
should probably speak up sooner when that happens.
What fucking-
I thought it was just my problem, so I didn't say anything this time.
Yeah.
Hello, is it working? Hello.
Oh my.
Oh wait. Hey.
Is it
I-
working now?
Why is
Yeah.
Crunchyroll one of your pins?
Yeah, I was gonna
Things.
ask that. I
What's
thought
wrong with
you were-
Crunchyroll?
I get
thought you
Netflix.
said-
I
yeah.
get Twitch, I guess.
What's wrong with
We're not
Crunchyroll?
Crunchyroll.
I thought you said you weren't a weeb, or is that just a lie?
Yeah, he's a liar. His
He's
name's
been
Ramen,
banned,
dude.
certified weeb.
He hasn't.
I hate this. I hate this. Just listen. Okay.
I was listening.
Okay. Thank you, PSN, my fucking golden student.
What? So was that? What the fuck?
Okay. So that's like flanking. Again, I think with Kree this probably isn't as relevant, but I think with like Reaper, if we choose to run Reaper a lot, it is really relevant. Now that said, I think that if we run Reaper a lot, like we're really doubling down on the brawl, and I think it makes us really weak to like things like Junkrat or Pharah. We probably stay on Kree. So and I think when we look at this, when we think flanking, I think we should just look at it as like a soft flank where Moose has an angle that is separate from our angle, but within like one roll and one small rotation, he can get back to team. So I don't want to watch these videos because they take forever and they fuck up our PowerPoint.
It'd be worth trying the Reaper because realistically, unless they're running a Pharah or an Echo, it shouldn't make too much of a difference whether we have the Kree or not.
That's fair. What was that?
But I do fully agree that if we are running the Kree May, that we just have to soft flank instead of hard flank.
Or not flank at all.
You just take off angles.
Mhm.
Off angles, yeah. Yes, sir. Okay. My sister just came back from the UK. Okay.
Tell her we said hi.
Do you really want me to say Hoot says hi?
She cute.
Yes.
Is she cute? Getting fucking served.
Oh shit.
I mean, he didn't say no.
Yeah, he didn't say no.
didn't say
Oh, I'm not
no.
gonna my fucking sister. Of course, I'm not gonna say no or
So
yes.
you're
Like, what do you
fake,
want?
bro.
What do you want?
Come
Jeez.
All right, chill the fuck out, Robin. Jesus,
What? You telling me to chill?
this guy's so aggressive.
Jesus.
I'm going back to Kazuya's #1 fan. Fucking hate this class.
That's fine.
Okay. Okay, chokes for defensive advantage. Close range, one direction of attack, but multiple from defense. Enemy has to use abilities first to push through the choke. Obviously, that applies both ways. Brawl does not have map control. Both teams don't control the flanks. Therefore, there are a lot of opportunity for flankers. Flank to force resources. Prepare a reaction for enemy flank. Looking at you, Herbs and Kazuya. Set up flanks with rotations. Okay. And I think that last one is key. That's going to be like, Moose, are you in position? Yes, I'm in position. Okay, now the front line, me and Hoot, push, and then Moose reveals himself, right? And it's just like getting that shit together. I agree with PSI that if we're really leaning into Brawl and we're really good with the rotations, that Reaper might be better than Kree. I think it could very much be something where like we kind of run both. But anyway, this is the main one, right? Brawl versus Spam. This is the video I was talking about. Okay, we're gonna watch this video. I hope it doesn't fuck everything up. It's definitely worth watching. Tell me if you guys can see. Can you see the big
Yeah, you're
Brawl
good.
versus Spam? Okay.
Yeah.
So number one, what do? They don't go main. They don't go straight to point. They go into hookah. So I'm only pausing it for a second because if we go back a quick second, it's like everyone here knew what their job was, and I think that's really important. Is that the Reaper and the May recognize they're not really going to be consistent pressure on the Pharah. That can only be the Diva, right? So what do? They start pressuring the Monkey while the Brig kind of goes to fight off the Sombra and just like zone her out. And then the Ana is just like hard fucking pocketing the Diva, right? And I don't know if you guys can hear the audio.
Yeah.
Yeah,
You can? Okay, good. So yeah, just like the on a hard pocket of the diva, and everyone else said, okay, let's focus on what we can contest, which like for Reaper and May is gonna be like the monkey, the diva. I guess the Brig goes on, the Sombra just like holds shield and just like runs at her like a fucking berserker, and the Orisa just like stays alive and applies like ranged pressure on the tanks. But yeah, that's the idea, and I think like in that situation, you can swap out Pharah for Junkrat pretty easily. It's the same concept. Um, can you guys see the PowerPoint, or is it still on the fucking
It's
video?
on the video.
Video.
God
Still
damn.
on the video.
Fuck
That
my
thing kind
God.
of looks like a dick.
There was that, and the other team, even though they're being called spam, they're kind of dive too.
Yes, and
and the Rain understood the strength of what they have on the dive comp as well, because there was a brief moment where Hawk got hacked and they dove Hawk really hard, and they managed to survive that. There's just a hard pocket on there. So just
Yes.
watching for those moments and preventing them from working.
one thing he talks about is hybrid comps, and this comp, the Uprising comp, is one of the comps he highlights as a dive spam hybrid. And so they might or might not be using his like methodology or whatever, but the idea is if they self-categorize as a brawl comp, and then they're playing against a dive spam hybrid comp, the way that this guy advocates we handle that is we look at their hybrid comp, we isolate or we identify the part of the hybrid that we are weak to. So if we're playing brawl, the spam half of this hybrid is what we're weak to, and then we play around their comp as if it's just a pure spam comp. So that's kind of the way that he advocates we deal with these things. So like anytime there's a hybrid, it's like, okay, it's a hybrid. What part of the hybrid is most troublesome for our comp? Once we identify that, we just say, okay, that's how we're going to play this. It's this comp. It's a spam comp. It's a dive comp. It's a brawl comp, whatever the case may be, right? So, yeah. Can you guys see this 4.1 positioning
No,
slide?
you're on the video.
Nope.
God fucking damn. I'm going to shit my pants. 1 second. What do
There,
you
you're
guys
good.
see? Okay.
Yeah, it's good to go.
Okay, good to go. Good to go. Okay, goal, reduce angles for spam, force fight on objective, right? Play grouped, similar to dive, we want to play grouped up, and the reason for this is that all of our abilities are really good at mitigating damage from a single direction, but not from multiple angles. Attack from the lane with the most cover, left or right. Same thing, it's like the same concept as dive, really. Except the reason we're doing this is not so we don't get caught out and jumped, but so we can minimize the amount of damage we take before actually getting to point. Rotate to high ground whenever possible. So in the context of a Junkrat, I think for King's Row we probably still play behind statue, but you could make an argument that we should play maybe above point or something like that, on the high ground above point. I think it depends if we have a May or Reaper or a Kree. If we have a Reaper, we probably don't, but if we have a Kree, we probably do. I don't know. That's definitely open to debate. And
I was
discussion.
thinking if we're a little more spammy, it would make more sense to take that left high ground, and then some people can drop, and then our spammers can stay up high ground. But if we're playing pure brawl, it'd probably make more sense to take the mega room in this example.
Are you talking Volskaya or are you talking King's Row?
Well, there's a picture of Volskaya on the screen, so.
Right. Okay. No, I was in my head. I was thinking King's Row. Yeah, I think they're gonna do exactly that. Right. They're gonna take either of these angles. I guess the benefit is, if you go left, you force them off the high ground, but you don't have much to do with the high ground. If you go right, you probably get a better position in terms of rotating to point, but then their Hanzo's still up there,
Mm-hmm.
spamming for free. So I don't know what. I think either one could be decent. Anyway, rotate to the high ground whenever possible. Force fight on point. The more time spam has, the worse it is for brawl. So unlike dive, where there's like a very distinct power spike that we need to worry about, for spam it's very much like, hey, we don't want this fight to last that long. We want to get in and fight and play to win, and if we lose, fine. But we don't want to be like basically playing like pussies and being scared. We need to like get in and fight, but we need to do it smartly. And a big thing that we need to do is speed, shield, and DM, and Maywall are the 4 resources we have to use to mitigate damage against spam, and we need to cycle those 4 resources effectively. So if Kazuya is holding DM, Hoot should be recharging shield. If Hoot needs to recharge shield, I need to be using my Maywall to provide natural cover. And if Herbs is amping speed, we need to be just going through choke. So we probably want to like we just need to communicate basically and like kind of have that as a call. Like what resource are we using to cross an open space, and make sure we're not using anything else. That way we're just like min-maxing everything, right? So I'm not gonna play this clip because if you haven't seen this clip, I don't know where the fuck you've been, but it's the classic King's
It's
Row.
the best clip ever.
Yeah,
Of
it's
course.
pretty amazing. It actually is fucking amazing, but I'm not gonna play it because then I'm gonna have to fucking stop presenting and it's gonna be a whole shit show. But if anyone is not familiar with this clip, basically what ends up happening is LA Glads roll out on goats, except Surefour as Brig is secretly in spawn, and London Spitfire doesn't realize it. The Glads cluster up really tight, rotate through hotel, go into streets, rotate all the way around to the high ground, and as they're doing this, London Spitfire assumes Brigitte's with them. London Spitfire rotates back to the statue because they know they can't brawl goats. They're running a spam comp, right? So they need space. So they rotate away from the high ground to give themselves space to spam down the goats. And then Surefour switches to Widow. He's still in spawn and he just fucking frags everyone. It's amazing. I think the concept here is just like the idea of rotating. We see how the brawl comp wants to rotate, which is like forcing a close engagement. We see how the spam comp rotates, which is, hey, we need space from this brawl comp. If they get on top of us, we lose. Okay. This is something we maybe do once we're done with lecture. You know, some homework. Is this exercise they have? I haven't looked at it yet.
I'm not doing homework.
But listen to it.
I'm gonna be real with you.
It's not homework,
We-
it's in class exercise.
Of course, of
In
course.
class, exactly, Kazoo, dude. That's why Kazoo is the fucking hall monitor.
Oh god.
The new Q monitor.
I'm telling.
So, don't tell her. She'll be so upset. Fucking, yeah. We just slap in this workshop code and see what's up, right? It's like 4 hard bots, 1 bastion, 2 free spots, and we just play against bullshit spam. It forces us to play grouped. The payload stops until Reinhardt walks into marked location. Location is defended by Orisa Bastion. So I guess the idea here is just like forces us to like play against spam, really annoying bullshit. It's kind of cool. We can look at that later. Here's the summary, right? This is the overall summary of Brawl. Strong sustain, strong defensive abilities, strong horizontal movement, weak map control, weak vertical movement, and we're resource based, so we get weaker over time. Our win condition is to force mid fights, which again are defined as the point that both teams have committed to a fight. We want to always be trying to play the objective. We always want to be fighting with the least number of angles. Versus spam, we attack them from the high ground whenever possible. We attack with the least amount of angles possible. We force a fight on point. With Brawl, we hold chokes. We use flanks. And versus dive, we play grouped up. We position with the least amount of angles. And we save our defensive abilities to survive the power spike. So I think there's a lot of similarities between playing against dive and playing against spam, specifically playing grouped and pushing the high ground. The main difference is that with dive, it becomes more important that we save these critical abilities and we're really playing around the dive. Whereas with spam, we want to rotate on top of it. Okay, that is slide 44. Let me go to our team chat. So we're done with a lot. Now let's go all the way to slide 83. Quickly look at the concept of lanes. This positioning chart is specific to running a spam comp. We'll just look at this, right? So basically what we have is spam. So this is the spam part of the power presentation, but like I figure it'll still be good to look at, is like just the idea that there's a left, a mid, and a right on every single map. I'm not going to present because I'm scared to. I think it'll fuck everything up. But spam wants to control all 3 lanes. That means that as Brawl, we don't want to let them control all 3 lanes, or we want to hold a position where the lanes don't all necessarily matter, right? This concept is really cool, line of sight. I'm actually going to play the video because I think it's really cool. Okay. Widow's playing behind cover, enemy Widow's in the open. Right? Clear angle on enemy Widow. The closer to a corner, the more control over a fight. You guys can see this, right? Just want to verify?
Yeah.
Okay. So, Widow starts to lose the duel, right? Widow hides behind cover, and when she wants to leave cover, she only has to move 1 meter. Enemy Widow has to move 10 meters to get the same fucking angle, right? So, right? That's super cool in my opinion. She's 1 meter away from cover, and by moving 1 meter, she can cover 10 meters in either direction, right? It's like pretty fucking powerful. Same concept for healing. You move 1 meter around a corner, heals needs to move 10 meters. Corners are not only vertical, but also horizontal. 1 meter away from high ground corner, 10 meters back for the low ground. So, line of sights for tanks. I am guilty of doing this to my supports all the time. I try not to do it as much anymore. This Ryan plays a corner. He can hop back into cover really quick. Another example, right, for DPS, the Zen is near a corner. He can get the cover, the soldier can't. And for the support, right, this Hanzo, if he plays behind the corner, the Ana can heal him. But if he goes past this corner 1 meter, the Ana has to move like 10 fucking meters to see him again, right? So that's like super important to keep in mind. Can you guys see the next slide, or is it all fucked up?
It's messed up.
Poggers. Oh,
there it goes.
listen to me. Listen, this comes. Dude, we're going through this
not very
at
busy.
breakneck. We're going through it at breakneck speed, Hoot. All we need to do once we get through the last couple slides is just like reiterate this in one big chunk of text, and we're gonna put it in the announcements channel, or not the announcements channel, the strats channel, because I'm serious that we need to start doing this in scrims and for the rest of the season. And then what I was saying earlier, Hoot, because you were late,
It was,
was-
literally 2 minutes. Shut the fuck up.
was that yeah, I pinged you. No, it wasn't. It was 4 minutes late
You
because
pinged
you said
me
shut
at-
up, ugly. 8:01.
Oh my fucking god, you're so annoying.
You get a demerit.
Shut the fuck up.
Anyway, basically we're gonna one-trick brawl for the rest of the season because that's what we've been practicing. But then in the off season, we can branch out to just like learn spam and dive as well. And if we're comfortable on all three, then we can just cycle through, because really it's like rock paper scissors. If the enemy team's running brawl, ideally we run spam. If the enemy team's running spam, ideally we run dive. If the enemy team's running dive, ideally we run brawl. Obviously, it doesn't need to work like that. All the comps can beat each other, but like that's in theory what could happen. So okay, you guys can see my screen. Let's go to
It's a black
page-
screen, but
God fucking damn. it.
Green.
1 second. Why is it doing this to me?
that was the first time it did that. I think like Discord just didn't grab what you were focused on.
Can you see right now or no?
It's black.
Nope. What'd you
Okay, I-
fucking break, dude?
1 second, Hoot, 1 second to stop screaming.
Oh my
Please.
god.
Just give me a goddamn second here.
I hate you so much.
You're kind of hurting my feelings a bit. Bro, why is it not working anymore? Herbs, what did you do? I'm gonna DC, I'll be right back.
What the fuck?
I'm malding. I'm actually malding.
Oh, we're used to that.
Bro.
It's not still in presenter mode, is it?
No, it's not. Dwight, you think... Would another... Let me just Google this really quick. Discord. Oh, you know why? I'm big stupid. I'm big stupid. I don't know why it matters, but I just changed it from being an application to being a screen. Now you guys can see it.
Yep.
Okay. All right, we're almost there. We're almost there. We're almost done, class. Okay, hybrid compositions. Brawl dive, dive spam, spam brawl. Okay? Get into it quick. quick.
Can do it quick.
Shut up! Shut the fuck up. Hybrid compositions are a combination between two playstyles, right? So, perfect example is this is a spam and a dive combination, right? How to play against a hybrid composition. Identify the playstyle your comp is weak against. Play as you would against this full matchup. So, white team has spam brawl. Blue team has brawl. Brawl and brawl is a mirror. Spam and brawl is strong. Blue team wants to play as it would versus brawl versus spam, right? Hide from the spam or rush them down, force a mid fight. That kind of methodology we can just like apply to everything basically. I'm not gonna play any videos. Okay, this video they run like Reaper Doom dive. It's bizarre, but anyway, the breakdown here is there's brawl and dive. I don't know. This one was dumb. I didn't really get it. Brawl versus dive, right? Brawl dive versus brawl. Dive is weak to brawl. Brawl is weak to mirror. Brawl dive versus spam. Dive is weak versus spam. Brawl is weak versus spam. Brawl dive versus dive. Dive is strong versus dive. Brawl is strong versus... Or no, dive is mirror versus dive. Brawl is strong versus dive, right? So, okay. The idea here, I'm kind of sounding a bit autistic, but let me like Let me just... Okay. What this is trying to do is tell you when to run a hybrid. So when they're running dive, we can fuck them with a brawl dive hybrid. When they are running spam, we could fuck them with a dive spam hybrid. When they are running brawl, we can fuck them with a brawl spam hybrid, right? A spam brawl hybrid. We're not going to be doing hybrids this season because I just don't think now is the time to start practicing new shit necessarily. I think we should hone in and really master the shit we've already practiced so much. But going forward, we can like kind of like utilize this, right? Okay. Hybrid combination is a summary, right? Hybrid compositions are combinations of two playstyles. How to play against them. Identify the playstyle your comp is weak against. Play as you would against this full matchup. Why would you play them? Okay. Map specific, team specific, hero specific, meta specific. Basically, it's a cop out answer, right? It's bullshit. Transitional comp. This is really easy to understand. It's basically you want to swap off one comp to the next. So the example they're going to give here is they're running like a dive comp, right? And then what ends up happening is they want to swap to like goats, except their Wrecking Ball has mines, their Sombra has EMP, their Tracer has Pulse Bomb. So they swap off almost everything, including the Tracer, because they say Pulse Bomb is not impactful, but they keep the EMP, they keep the mines, right? It's the Houston Outlaws, so they still lose the fight. It's pretty dog shit. They get farmed, but like,
Lucky.
they,
Fuck up.
but you know, conceptually, it's there, right? So the idea is perfect example. Let's say Numbani, we want to run Cyber Dive, like Genji, Sombra, Ana, and play for EMP Nanoblade, and we want to play our traditional brawl comp in Streets phase, right? So let's say we take the point, right? And our Winston has Primal, our Sombra has EMP, our Genji has Blade, and our Ana has Nano. Well, okay, we're never going to swap off Ana, so that's a no-brainer. What we would do there is our Winston would swap to Reinhardt, because we don't really care about Primal. But Blade and EMP are strong. So we keep Blade and EMP. We keep Sombra Genji. We take a fight where we are guaranteed to use those ults. We're guaranteed to use EMP and Blade. And the rest of the team comp is already on our brawl. And then after that fight, once we pop that ult, once we pop those ults, win or lose, then we swap. And what we've done is we've used their ultimates to win the fight. In the process, the heroes that have swapped, like our Reinhardt, has built up their Shatter. And then we come back as McCree, right? That's the idea. So here's the good little picture, right? So they have Pulse Bomb, Mines, and EMP. They decide, hey, Pulse Bomb's not important. Let's start building Rally. But we're going to keep Mines. We're going to keep EMP. In my opinion, if I was the Houston Outlaws, I would have swapped the ball for Reinhardt. But, you know, what do I know? That's the idea. Summary is basically the hybrid compositions. We already went over that. And transitional compositions just like keep ults if they're good ults. If it's an ult that can win you a fight, don't just throw it away. Okay? 2 more things left. 123 to... Okay, so tempo. Tempo. How do you decide to play fast or slow? Depends on composition. Depends on the mid-fight situation. Dive compositions, power spike, little timing window to be effective. Preparation takes time, but actual fight is very fast. In that sense, I think dive plays slow, is what he's saying. Take your time scouting, take your time staging, take your time to get it right. And when you go in, you're going hard as fuck. Spam compositions, the longer the fight goes on, the better for spam, so play as slow as possible. Right? What the goddamn fuck? Which composition has the advantage in an infinitely long fight? Based on resources, how long can you stay in your effective range? This composition should play slower, the other one should play faster. I think that makes sense. Do you guys agree?
I mean,
Yeah, Washington should
I
be
guess.
slow.
Washington's playing poke, and Nixel is playing dive. Like a very scuffed dive. I don't know how teams make Zen Brig work. It's just coordination, I guess.
Hyper coordination, absolutely no feeding. Okay, got it. Short amount of time in effective range. Long amount of time in effective range. So therefore, I guess the other team, the red team, wants to play the longest fight possible. The blue team wants a quick fight. Okay? Mid fight. Tempo is based on heroes, abilities, and cooldowns. Depending on the situation, teams change the pace of their play. Health pool, even if play is slower than the enemy, if they are slow, you can push. Abilities, if essential abilities are used, we have to capitalize on that. So, like, if we're playing our Brawl, which is going to have D.Va like 99% of the time, into their Brawl, and they have Zarya, and they use bubbles, we need to push their bubbles. That's like a massive advantage. We need to push those, right? Position. Faster team gets a better position, waits for the enemies to act. All right, ultimates can dictate the whole playstyle. Okay, like engaging with Beat, engaging with Blizzard, whatever the case, right? Identify the right pace in the mid fight. This is something that I think we still are figuring out. Mostly me and Hoot. This is usually like the way I see it, and Hoot, feel free to jump in if you disagree. But I usually see this as like, you've got a tempo you want to play at, I've got a tempo I want to play at, and then I try to ask you to like play at a faster tempo than you think we should, basically. So like that's something where we probably need to like clean that up, and again probably just ultimately let you determine the tempo, with the caveat that like we need to be basing our tempo on enemy team ability usage so we can like punish shit. So yeah, he's already saying this is super difficult. So right, highly complex, requires perfect information and good communication. So it's like okay, actually, yeah. So basically, when I see they use Zarya bubble and I say, okay, push, but I'm not aware that Hoot's at 250 HP and has like 600 shield, that's a lack of perfect information on my end and bad communication on our end that like we can't push that. We're in no position to push that. That's the idea, I think, the takeaway. Okay. Summary, how do you decide to play fast or slow? Depends on the composition. For Brawl comp, we usually want to play fast based on resources. Do we have shield? Do we have DM? Do we have Onane? Do we have Maywall? Right? Depends on the tempos and the abilities and cooldowns we have available. Health, abilities, position, ultimates, right? Identifying the right pace in the mid fight is very difficult. So probably we just go in with a general understanding. We do our best to kind of get better at it. We see what happens. Right? And now we're on the summary. We can skip all this because I think we already went through it, right? I'm just going to hopefully you guys can see my screen.
Yeah, you're good.
Yeah, of course.
Glossary, okay. Macro, doesn't really matter. It's just like, okay, distribution of limited resources between necessary avenues. Sustain, the amount of time you're able to hold a position without having to reposition them. It's cooldown, we know what that is. Resource, combination of health, abilities, ultimates. Objective, points and payloads, right? Flank, a significant separation from your allies to shoot from a different angle. Choke, narrow part of the map. Poke, dealing damage without fully committing to a fight. Scouting, gathering information. Peeling, defending an ally against an enemy threat. And mid-fight, state of the fight where both teams are committed into contesting the same space.